we want to thank you for joining us and welcome you in today. It's a little bit different of an episode, not in as far as guest. Kendall's been on a few times, but it's been a little bit.
It has been.
Yeah, I was going to say, now that I think about it, I was going to say it's just been since this summer, because normally when you spoke at the ranch, I would go out and do an episode.
Right.
But I didn't this summer because, we were in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
That kind of led to what we're doing today. And so...
For sure.
Because, no. You were announced as the new youth pastor by the time you spoke at the camp?
At the ranch this time around.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
okay.
yeah. Because I remember saying something to the students while I was at
while you
the
were there,
ranch.
because it was shortly after. But so we're excited that Kendall is our new youth pastor during this time of transition and all those things going on. And so there's a number of you that maybe remember him being on episodes. A number of you hopefully have met him since he started officially on August 3rd. But he is not a stranger. He's not new to this church. You spoke 3 different times during our winter blast, our youth retreats. Yeah. You spoke, 4 summers at the ranch now?
I think it's been 4. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
I know. I was going to say time flies by, but it's, and we've had a number of our youth working at the ranch. So you've gotten to know a lot of our youth through a number of different things. Yeah. And then obviously your wife, Becca, grew up here at the church. So it's not like you're a stranger and brand new, came from like wherever.
Yeah.
But we're excited. It's been a couple weeks now, and so you're getting your feet wet. It's that crazy transition month of like ramping up to youth ministry, but still not youth ministry in full swing and all that. So we wanted to take a chance for the people that listen and the people of the church to be able to get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
Get to know your story. I know you did something. You did the article in the Messenger, which there's a group of people that faithfully read that, but maybe not the whole church. Not everyone.
Yeah.
I did hear a couple people that they said they saw that you were on the cover of the Messenger, so they grabbed it and actually read it this month, just to get a little
see
bit.
What was going on.
They might not normally do that, but yeah. So this will be a chance to get a little more in depth and like I said, people to get to know your story a little bit, where you're from, where you grew up, and a little bit of those things what led you into ministry, and then out of ministry, and then back into ministry. And again, I should always say this. I've been reminded a couple times, all believers are called into full-time ministry, full-time vocational ministry.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Because that stop in between full-time vocational ministry stops as a pastor, you were very much in ministry. It was just at a college,
Yes.
So
I know we talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah. I was going to say that was a year ago this past summer.
Yeah.
So talking through what that looks like still being in full-time ministry of sorts, even though you weren't at a church working,
Right.
But so go ahead and introduce yourself and where you're from, and take a little time to describe your upbringing and the we'll say pre-Becca Kendall.
Okay.
Like now
we're going to the pre-Becca years.
Yeah, like growing up and everything.
Yes. Okay. So I grew up in McKeesport, PA. So McKeesport is most certainly near and dear to my heart. It's one of those things which I know everybody, no matter where you're from, like there's a certain, town pride. And ours is, once a Tiger, always a Tiger.
Yep.
Which I know Fairview's a Tiger.
Fairview's a Tiger. Yeah, there's a lot of Tigers.
Oh,
but
yeah.
for you guys, there's, McKeesport's the only Tigers.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we're the only ones.
Yeah.
And so there's I feel like there's a certain amount of toughness you learn growing up in McKeesport. So I grew up with my mom and my grandparents. Yeah. So we grew up in my grandparents' household. A lot of people, I feel like, growing up would see our family and think my mom was my sister and my grandma was our parent. Yeah. But no, it was a really cool upbringing. My grandfather was a pastor, and pastored for he was at the church that I knew him to be at for over 40 years. Yeah. I pastored longer than that, so probably closer to, half a century. Yeah. That he pastored. Yeah. So he was faithfully serving. Yeah. And it's just interesting to me now, looking back. Mm-hmm. I remember, and I think I wrote this in the Messenger, but I remember all of the calls that he would get. I remember him, having to go do funerals. I remember the weddings that he did. I remember all of the different things that came with, being a minister of the word.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, he was working as well. So he was bivocational.
Okay.
So just even watching kind of what that looked like, how he operated, now that I look back, was fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
It is something that we're very blessed with the ability to be full-time pastors here at the church.
Yeah.
And just to watch someone navigate that and to, because he still had a family.
Right.
Like, and just to navigate all those things had to be unique.
Yeah.
And it probably at one time, maybe not, but I know that you were never looking to be a pastor.
No.
But it might have been one of those things as you watched him do life, you were like, man, that's not for me.
Yep.
It just. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and I feel like I tried my best as a kid to avoid church.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things where my grandparents, they were there all the time. Like my grandfather would have prayer meeting, then we'd have church on Sunday, and then there's stuff after that. So my whole goal was, number one, if I can try to avoid church, I will. Yeah. So I'll fake like I'm asleep.
Yep.
And maybe they'll be like, he's just going to have to stay here.
Yeah.
Or when I get to church, because church used to start 10:30-ish. And we were done when we were done.
Yeah, I was just say there wasn't an end time.
No, there was no run time, no agenda. You knew you had to get through some stuff.
Yeah,
and the word was going to be preached. But that was what it was.
Say, and you guys, did you have a Sunday school, or that was other times in the week you did Bible studies and stuff? So you didn't have a reason to end except for hunger or time.
Right, that was really it. Yes,
there wasn't hey, we got to get to Sunday school, so we got to end first service.
Right, unless I was about to say unless folks and we had something downstairs, somebody was cooking, or we were going to Golden Corral, whatever the case was. Yes. But I do remember as a kid, my mom would have snacks in the purse.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, we got to do something. Or I would literally go upstairs before everything was done. My grandfather's probably still preaching. Still a game start at 1. Yep. So I'm like, I got to be upstairs.
You got to go watch.
Right. I got to go ahead and roll.
Kickoff.
Right. And so just the different ways that I was ducking and dodging. But man, the Lord was continually faithful even through all of that.
But in the midst of that. Now, do you have any siblings?
Yes. So I do have 3 half-sisters. So they live with my dad actually in West Virginia.
Okay.
And so, we would every so often, because my dad was stationed in Germany when I was younger.
Okay.
And so I didn't get a chance to see him
in the Army
often.
Or?
Yes, in the Army. Yep. So he was initially in the Navy and then had moved to the Army.
Okay.
So one of my sisters, my middle sister, Kenise, she was actually born in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we didn't get a chance to see them super often. My relationship with my dad really started to grow teenage years. I feel like it grew a lot more. Yeah. Realized how similar we were. Yeah. Which is also really interesting.
Yeah.
And so that was a kind of a cool dynamic. But yeah, so I have three younger sisters, and they are all much smarter than me.
Oh man, they focus on their academics a little more.
They got it handled. That's we're just trying to make it.
Oh man, and so that is good that that you have grown that relationship with your dad. Yeah, and it's an also very interesting thing of the whole nature nurture. And how much is passed down just genetically,
right?
And because you weren't growing up under his roof, but there was a lot of similarities. Yeah,
but yet we would have. Yeah. I still remember as a teenager, riding in the car with him and having a conversation with him, and I was like, "Whoa, this is scary." Yeah, how similar we are. And then even my youngest sister, Caitlin. And again, we don't get a chance to get together super often, but the times we've gotten together, we have a similar sense of humor, a similar demeanor. Yeah. We look very similar. Yeah. And so it is just fascinating kind of how those things turn out. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And it is cool.
Yes. No doubt. No doubt.
And so growing up in McKeesport, you kind of stated that school was you got through. Like it wasn't necessarily, it's not like you were a bad student or anything, but maybe it wasn't your focus. What did childhood look like? What was the thing that kept you going? What did you really enjoy?
Yeah.
Steelers games. You mentioned that.
Love the Steelers. Yeah, I was going to say Steelers are solid. Although I feel like initially I chose teams based on what my parents liked. So like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say my dad was a Bucks fan, so I was a Miami Dolphin fan.
Okay.
So I chose them, and then my mom was a Knicks fan.
Okay.
Knicks Heat rivalry was huge. I went Heat.
So you went the opposite almost.
Yes, definitely went the opposite on that end. But yes, man. So grew up with that.
Yeah.
I would say my focus definitely growing up, and this was something that I feel like my mom and my grandparents instilled in me, was your job is to do what you're supposed to do in the classroom.
Yeah.
That's your focus. That's what you ought to do.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to have a job, but that's what you need to do on the front end. And so focused on that. And then obviously athletics was a big thing for me. Love basketball. That was kind of like 4 years old out at the YMCA. My mom was like, you were a human mop. Like you just were on the floor all the time.
Just go.
yes, which works out because I was diving for loose balls and stuff like that. You know, hustle plays.
You were being aggressive.
Right. Yep, that's all it was.
That's great. I love that. Human mop.
Yes. I was like, appreciate that, Mom. Or a Swiffer or whatever you want to. Yep.
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
Yes.
So basketball was big for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then as you got older into your teen years, I know that, personally, I know your story a lot, but like your basketball stayed pretty big for you.
It did.
And that was something that led you in a direction for college as well. So speak through that and how God utilized it. Maybe you didn't see it at the time of God directing your path, but where did that lead you and what did that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole goal was I wanted to play Division I basketball.
Yeah.
And I think especially growing up in a place like McKeesport, there are so many great athletes. You can kind of become jaded and think, oh, well, so-and-so is D1. I should be able to do that.
Yeah.
I ended up 5'10" and 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
So my whole goal was I'm going to go play at the University of Florida. I'll play there for a couple years and then I'll go to the league, play for the Heat.
Yep.
Not so much.
Yeah. And then reality hit somewhere in there.
Yes, most definitely. But it was definitely a focus of mine to say, hey, like I want to do something with this.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, my grandfather, in his wisdom, in the background, he was just continually pouring wisdom into me and trying to help me understand what my identity was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear it at the time because I'm
sure.
I got goals. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on my schoolwork and I'll be fine. But he knew where my true identity lied. And especially like coming from anyone, my grandfather's in the McKeesport, Athletics Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Like he was serious business.
So sports,
Yeah,
like
football
that.
and track, like he.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, what'd he do in track?
Pole vault.
I don't know that I knew this.
He pole vaulted, which his joke is he was like, back in the day we pole vaulted with bamboo sticks.
Yeah. I was to say old enough that's what they use.
Yeah. So, but he was
a
great athlete.
Yeah.
Used to tell stories all the time. One time, I guess he got, somebody stepped on him with a cleat and he said he put his tongue through his cheek. Because he was like, I just fold my helmet up, put it in my pocket and keep it moving.
I was going to say it's the leather helmets.
Yes. But so he understood what it took to be a great athlete. But obviously, like his whole life changed when the Lord got a hold of him. And so I remember he would, take me to practice and I'd be running late. Trying to get there. And I'm like, you got to get me there because if not, they're going to make me run.
Yeah.
He moved at the same speed.
It's
did not matter to him. And he's trying to share wisdom with me. And again, at the time, I'm not trying to hear it, but it all came back around. We talked about that, but like it came full circle.
Yeah.
And so it was just beautiful, but that was my focus at the time.
Yeah, and so that led you to instead of Florida,
you
went to
New Wilmington, Pennsylvania.
Yes. I'll say not Florida so much.
No, definitely not. No,
but you went to Westminster.
Yep.
Great college. Or was it a university at the time?
Nope.
Okay, it was still Westminster College.
Yep.
And so you attended Westminster to play basketball.
Yep.
And what was your major?
I started out in public relations.
Yeah.
Dropped my public relations 101 class and my major within 2 weeks.
Okay.
I said, we took the first quiz, which was like the first week of classes. And I was like, oh, nope.
Yeah, this isn't it.
I can't do this.
And so from that, did you go undecided for a little bit, or did you go right into another one?
I went undecided for that first semester.
Okay.
And then I decided to take a broadcasting class. And I was like, maybe this will be interesting. It was called media management.
Okay.
And so I take this class, and I ended up loving it.
Yeah.
And then I declared my broadcast major the next semester.
Okay.
And then things just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
So, I got a bunch of random sports knowledge. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this.
Yeah.
But this is a great place to put it.
It's a great avenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you learn some other different skill sets in that, but that was kind of the path that I went down.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so, as you went through college, talk about your relationship with Christ and your journey, your faith journey. What did that look like? And I know there were some major transitions in your life in college, but speak to that a little bit.
Okay. So when I probably toward the back half of high school, I would go to church because I had a girlfriend at the time who her dad was a pastor. And so I went to church because of that, right?
Yeah.
There was something leading me there. But as I started to go, like I felt like conviction started to grow when I hadn't really felt that before. So when I got to college, I still had my identity in academics and sports, right? Because I was like, okay, like I know I can do those things well.
Yeah.
Well, freshman year, I dropped my major. I'm like, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
And then I think I might have been either the third or fourth shooting guard on the depth chart.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, man, like I came from starting
to,
am I going to even play?
Yeah.
And so identity was challenged to the core.
Yeah.
So I wrestled with that, especially freshman year. And I know the Lord was working on me, but then my resolve was like, okay, I just need to get stronger. I just need to get better. And so between freshman and sophomore year, that was what I tried to do.
Yeah.
And it worked for a short amount of time. Like I came back and was like, all right, like I had gained a little bit. I was like, all right, a little bit of muscle to me.
Yeah.
Which look, if you see me now, look, y'all on camera, y'all see it ain't really there like that. And it's turned into a dad bod now. So it's rough.
So
But at the time I thought, okay, I'm going to try to work my way into this identity.
Yeah.
And so I started out my sophomore year as the starter, was playing well. And personally, like if I was playing well, I was confident.
Yeah.
Outside of sports, right?
Yep.
If I wasn't playing well, I was in the tank.
Yeah.
And so at one point in time during that season, I just had a lot of personal stuff going on that, again, that rug got pulled out from underneath me. And it was like I hit a wall.
Yeah.
And so I went from being the starter to getting minutes here and there, and it was just all spotty.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful now looking back at that because
sure.
the Lord was like, yeah, no, this is never going to satisfy you. This is never going to be it.
Yeah.
And so then the summer between sophomore and junior year is when things really started to change for me.
Yeah.
One of my friends from high school, actually, we played AAU ball together. His name was Colin. He had gone through a tough time going into college, so he went and played college basketball. Ended up in the hospital, and he was going through a ton of personal struggles in the hospital. While he's in the hospital bed, has an encounter with the Lord, and comes to faith. So then between sophomore and junior year, and I don't know any of this at the time. So he reaches out to me and he's like, hey, Kendall, he used to call me K-Rock. Like, hey, K-Rock. He was like, listen, he said, I'm trying to, get in the gym and get in the lab during the summer.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that with me? Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get back to it.
Yeah.
And so we start doing that. And I actually start seeing him walking out this faith. He's in the car bumping Lecrae. And I'm like, yo, who is this? This is kind of fire. Like I kind of
like it's
unashamed, like windows down, like blasting music, telling me about the Lord, like actually sharing it in conversation, not just as something he had in his back pocket, but something that affects his life like every second of every day. Turns out, and I would go pick him up because I have to take my mom's car and go pick him up. And he used to call this place the base that he lived in. He was living in a homeless shelter.
Okay.
And so even when I think back to that, like the joy that he carried in the midst of a personal struggle that he was walking through was just incredible. So that summer, like the Lord just started to move. Like I started reading the scriptures And Colin was helpful in that. He was like, hey, why don't you start reading Matthew? Like, why don't you get into it? And I started to read, and the Lord just started to reveal more and more. And so I think that's really where things started to take off.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you've said this before, and I forget exactly how you said it, but something to the effect of, he was the first person from where you were from that you saw like live out of faith genuinely.
Yes.
Not that like at your age.
Yes.
Like obviously your grandfather, your grandmother, like you had people in the church that were generations in front of you that were very much living out their faith.
Yeah.
But it just so happened that you just didn't really recognize people your age really living out their faith.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think especially because Colin and I had become so close. Yeah. Because of the same interests that we had, right? Like this is a dude who loved to compete on the basketball court, but that competition changed from, because he loved to talk trash too. So we would talk back and forth, right? You could get under somebody's skin. That went from talking trash to there was this confidence that he had because he knew, look, win or lose, whatever it is, like I know I'm a child of the Most High. And so he carried himself with that. And I had just never seen that before. Yeah. And it let me know and understand. And I hope even for folks listening, like the Imago Dei is so powerful in that God, obviously, like he's called us to himself, right? And so he's going to mold and shape us, and he's going to continue to kill sin in our lives. Yeah. But that doesn't kill the individual that we are, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And so Colin being unapologetically himself, as the Lord is continuing to make him more and more like him, was something that I needed to see at the time.
For sure.
And so, that truly started to change me. And then there were a few more things down the line that continued that molding process, but I think that's really where things started to happen.
Now, as you were going through that, as God really got a hold of you, and he was doing what only he can do in the sanctification process, and the Holy Spirit was working on your life, did you ever find yourself like in moments where like a light bulb would go off, like, oh, that's what my grandpa was saying, and like, oh shoot, like he was really wise.
Absolutely. My mind immediately went back to those car rides. Yeah, because I'm telling you, Mal, I was not trying to hear any of that, and he would just continue to pour into me and just like give me these little nuggets of wisdom where the Lord gave him a gift to know how to, because I think it's easy for a parent or grandparent to be like, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah. Just instruct.
Yes, but he had such a subtle and gentle way, which again, funny enough, coming from a man who was a football player, who was like the toughest of the tough, he had such a subtle and gentle way of like pointing these things out to me. And I remember coming home, and I'm trying to remember if it was that summer, but I vividly remember coming home and getting a chance to tell him, like, I'm actually following the Lord. It's not just this little side thing.
I'm not doing it to keep you off my back.
Right. Like honestly, he has truly changed me. Yeah. I remember him going straight, because he had his study in the attic. He said a couple words and then went straight to the attic and went and got out his arsenal of books. Yeah. Like he had been ready the whole time. And it's because he was. Yeah. And I know for a fact, like, he had been praying for me. My grandmother, like my mom, like I know they had been praying for me. And so I hope that's even encouragement to even parents now or grandparents who have grandkids or kids who you're continually praying for, and you're like, I don't see the fruit. Who knows, when that day may come where the Lord, that light bulb clicks and they're like, no, I get it. I get it. And so continue to pray. Yeah. And if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And that was my grandfather to a T.
Yeah, that is so true. And how amazing is it that God in his sovereignty, as he was preparing you for what he had coming, not to jump too far forward, but as he was preparing you to become a youth pastor, like took you through the journey this way to, like, what I'm thinking of as we're talking through is not just about kids or grandkids, but like those that are going to be serving alongside you in youth ministry yourself. Yeah. Like there will be times and with students that you will plant seeds that you might not ever get to see the fruit of. Yes. It doesn't mean that someone else won't come and water those seeds. Yeah. But like for your grandfather being faithful to continue to plant seeds, and it was your friend who watered them, and then the Holy Spirit that did the work only he can do. But then to, like you said, then once it was almost like he just needed the call. Mm-hmm. And once your grandpa knew, he had stuff ready.
Yes.
He was ready to hand it. Like, okay, so now that God's got you, this is where you go.
Yes, absolutely.
And how amazing that is. But just a reminder that like it's in God's timing, and to continue to be faithful and obedient. And that's why I would say, and not that adult ministry's too much different at times, right, but with youth ministry, there's an added difficulty of it. Just there might be a heightened amount of, I already got this figured out. You can just keep your knowledge to yourself.
Yep.
Because all of us as teenagers thought we had it figured out.
Oh, yeah. The whole world is, I have it handled. The adults are the ones that got it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, just
and as
understand
we've gotten older, we're like, man, we were clueless. Like, I knew nothing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But just how amazing it is that God took you through that journey in that direction, in that way, as he led you into youth ministry. And so, like, as God got your heart and continued to mold you, and as you wrapped up at Westminster, what was that like getting into your first job? What was that? And what journey did he take you through on your way to becoming a youth pastor originally?
Yeah. So I'll start here. So I was, broadcast communications. Yeah. Had an internship between my junior and senior year at a news station. Mm-hmm. Found out, and it was cool. Like there were a lot of great people there. I found out that I hated that job. Yeah. Because essentially, especially when you're dealing with like the news cycle, you're really just like, if it's breaking news, the things they talk about are shootings, stabbings, fires. Yep. Like those are your main things you need to cover. Yep. And so you're essentially sitting by a police scanner waiting for those things to happen.
So you can report on them.
Mm-hmm. And so that was, I'm glad, again, I walked through that summer, but it was like, this is not for me. Yeah. So I was in a panic and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go talk to the Career Center at Westminster, and they're like, well, okay. And there's a woman in particular I'm thinking about. The entire Career Center was awesome. But a woman named Jen Huff, who still is a great friend to this day. Yeah. But she was like, hey, why don't you channel that and use it for maybe like higher ed, like admissions? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Westminster was supposed to open a position up. Okay. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance that I can work there. I had done tours for Westminster. Yeah. So as that was going on, Geneva had an opening that she was like, hey, you should apply for that. So I applied for that, go through the process with them, get a job offer. And it turns out the Westminster, I think at the time, I don't know if they had closed it or if they had hired someone else, but that position dried up. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, so you're sending me to Geneva. I don't know anybody there. I'm the same age as half the seniors. I look like I'm about to be a freshman. Like this is what's going on. Yeah. And so he sent me there, which I grew a ton professionally and personally there. Like I'm grateful for them. Biggest thing I'm grateful for is having the opportunity to meet a special lady. Yeah. named Becca down there. And so so the Lord took me there. Then when I don't want to jump ahead, but like when we got married, left Geneva, went to Imani Christian Academy in Pittsburgh to be a guidance counselor. So I worked with my mom for a little bit. Okay. So did that for just under a year. Okay. Westminster opened an admissions position, and we were actually about to have our oldest Eli at the time. Yeah. So I jumped over to Westminster to come back up to New Wilmington. Yeah. Becca was working in New Wilmington too. Okay. So we were like, hey, like, let's think about buying a house. So we went and bought a house in Newcastle. Yeah. Which is basically where we've been up until now. Yeah. And like I said, there were definitely some other spots along the way, but while I was at Westminster, the Lord had impressed ministry upon my heart. Yeah. And so that was kind of the first pastoral stint I had. Left that, went to Grove City for just under 2 years. Yeah. And so
because I thought it would be 2 years in October. Yep. If I'm remembering correctly.
Yep. So it would have been 2 years in October. But yeah, and that was one of those things, and I know we were, talking about this earlier, but that was one of those things where once I left ministry the first time around, we knew that ministry wasn't an if, it was a when.
Yeah.
And we just weren't sure when or what that opportunity would be. And like you talked about the Lord's sovereignty and providence.
Yeah. Ended up here.
Yeah.
And it's super cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of ground was covered there.
I know. Yeah.
No, which was good, because it kind of sets up that, like, I don't want to say the adult portion of your life, but
that's
like,
fair.
Yeah, like
that's
the adult
fair.
portion of your life. And so, you and Becca, what year was Becca when you guys met?
So she was a senior at the time.
Okay. So Becca was a senior, and you guys met, started dating, all that stuff, and then ended up getting married and went down to Pittsburgh. What was it like? Where in the process, then jump back up to Westminster for a little bit. Where was it in that process that you started to feel called into full-time vocational ministry? Like, that's not a normal transition. I mean, I can relate, because I went from education as a high school teacher, about to go back and get my principal papers, to becoming a pastor, so like, I understand, but like, for you, what was it that, where were the seeds starting to be planted for you and Becca? And what did that look like going through that process?
Yeah. I think probably what probably drew me the most to it was, I think, the fact that the Lord had been doing that the entire time.
Yeah.
Admissions is interesting because you are building relationships. Those relationships, you go through another cycle of kids, right? So you build relationships with seniors in high school in order for them to come to your institution. They go, and then you have another crop of students.
Yeah.
But then you still get a chance to maintain some of that while they're on campus. Going into guidance counseling, I feel like the Lord kind of took me through levels of it, where it was like, okay, this is relationship building. Guidance counseling was your relationship building, but now you're dealing with some deeper issues. It's not simply where am I going to go to college, but like, how do I navigate life as a whole, right?
Like, here are my troubles. What do I do with this?
What do I do with this? Yes, absolutely. So that was a part of it. And then from there, coming back to Westminster, it was great because we lived in the area. And so beyond the admissions portion of things, one of the things that Becca and I really enjoyed was there were some students who were on campus that we were able to kind of minister to, and we would be able to have them over or go to church with them or go pick them up for church. And there's a couple in particular that I think of that I'm like, oh man, I forgot we used to go back and forth.
Yeah.
But that was kind of, I think, impressed upon us. And then a buddy of mine that I worked admissions with, he worked at a different institution, but we had conversations while we were on the road about like, man, it would be really cool to do ministry. Especially because we saw that area in that space as a space where kids were struggling with identity. Yeah. They were wrestling with, my identity's wrapped up in what I need to do for the rest of my life, and I'm panicking. Yep. Man, we want to serve those kids. How do we do that here? And so we both were talking about that. Becca and I had started attending First Baptist. Yeah. And so unbeknownst to me, Pastor Mike at the time, and then shout out to Mike, but he was like, okay, if you can't do anything, or if you can do something else, do something else, right? Yeah. If you can't do anything else, do ministry. And I felt increasingly like, I don't see myself doing anything else. All of these things serve to do this, to tell students about Jesus. That's why I want to do it. So I think that's really where it kind of hit home for me. Lord had been doing it, but that was when it hit home.
And so what amount of, it's I don't want to say interesting, it's really elementary, even though we don't recognize it as much. But what about of the fact that the struggle you had going through your life of finding your true identity in Christ, what amount do you think that played into the fact that that's what was the calling card of, that's why it was like, man, I see these kids struggling with this, and that's why I want to be in ministry, because every kid struggles with like, where do I belong? What do I, all these different things of what is my identity? What makes me stand out? I remember there was this kid that always had long hair on the football team. And all of a sudden, like, we had our first scrimmage his junior year, and he came back with a haircut short. And I coached with his dad, and I was like, dang, what, And he looked at me, he goes, well, how'd he play on Saturday? I said, he played excellent. He's like, it's his first year starting. He doesn't need to have his identity in his hair anymore. Wow. Now, this was an unbelieving family, but like, it was interesting that like, it was like, oh, because he could finally say like, I was at least successful enough that I don't have to be known for the kid with the long hair or whatever, that he then felt the freedom to cut it. So
that's wild.
That like, all kids are looking for, I need to put my identity somewhere, which I would argue because God made us that way in his image to be drawn back to him, you know? And so what role do you think that played in your call back into, or your call to student ministry, which was the recognition of the same thing you struggled with?
Yeah, I think that played a vital role.
Yeah.
I as I think back to that time, and truthfully, Mal, like even as an adult, like a lot of that, it's rooted in something that God has already designed in us, right?
Yes.
We want to put our identity in something, but oftentimes we view people as much bigger than God.
Yeah.
Right. And so ultimately that was, and I know in my heart, like I can tend to be a people pleaser. And so I want people to think well of me. I want people to think, oh, well, Kendall has it together. Well, he has X, Y, and Z. And that part of me, I can identify with students, and they may not identify it in the moment, but I can tell because I'm like, I reacted the same way.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
I can recognize because I was there.
Yes.
Like, you can't, you know, like, you're trying to like play me as a fool, and I've already been there.
Right.
Like,
already
I know what you're
that.
going through. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
100%.
Yeah.
And so you have an opportunity to step in and say, you don't have to walk that way. It may feel like that because in junior high and high school, that feels like the world is crumbling down.
Yeah.
Like I remember in high school thinking, like if I had an outfit on that wasn't like fully crispy, like I'm about to get roasted. This is about to be terrible, right?
And like,
and then you get to
even
college,
those little things, you think about that stuff.
You do, yes. Yeah. And so it like thinking back to that, I'm like, and you're gonna walk through it, and you're gonna struggle through that, but we're here.
Yeah.
Right? Like as leaders, we have an opportunity to step in that gap and say, and my dad actually told me this one time. He was like, I want to tell you about the mistakes I made so you don't have to make them.
Yeah.
And so if there are things, and again, we're all going to fall. We're all going to walk through some struggles.
Yeah.
But if there's a mistake that I made that I can help impart wisdom to you, you don't have to make that same mistake.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's my hope and prayer is like in the midst of this, Lord, whatever part of my story you've allowed me to walk through, let it be used for your glory. Even if it's something that brought pain to me, oftentimes it is. Those are the things that the Lord uses to then bring somebody else to see who he truly is.
Absolutely. And it's so cool how God uses your experiences to then put you in position, you know, to really glorify him.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. That's the goal for all of us, you know? And so you served at First Baptist for what, like 4 years?
4 years.
Or okay, as a youth pastor. And then, not to get into a bunch of details, but I'm sure some people are like, wait, you got out of youth ministry. Like, was there a moral failure? Like what you know, what's going on? Like what, you know? So speak to that process of getting out of, you know, the pastoral youth ministry at the time, just real quick. And I had a great conversation in the whole interview process with Pastor Mike, and, you know, and it was so good. I know you personally. We've become good friends even before this. So like, I didn't have any question knowing your story and speaking with you a little bit when you were going through this process of, am I being called out of ministry at this season of my life? But to talk with him and be like, oh man, yeah, I could not agree more that he's called to ministry. And I would fully affirm if God is calling him back at this time for him to be at a church, like any church would be lucky to get him. Yeah. You know, but like, so in saying that though, like what was it that led you out of ministry for a season?
Yeah. It was a couple of different things. I think the main one for both Becca and I, and we've talked about this, is that like your first ministry is your family.
For sure.
And at that time, and anybody who's done youth ministry, ministry as a whole just knows what toll that takes family-wise. And so at that point in time, we had 3 little ones. Yep. And it was taking its toll. Yeah. And again, I'm so grateful for that staff at FBC, just in the midst of trying to figure out, okay, like this is a crazy season of life for us.
Yeah.
Trying to do ministry. It was best to be able to step off the field just for as a family, for us to like, whew.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when we started, I think Titus was small at the time. So we only had 2. Then we ended up having Leah in 2020.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to restart things, and now you got 3 kids instead of 2. And it didn't seem like that's a ton of a difference, but man.
It is. And I mean, like there's not in a bad way, but like some kids are more high energy than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so like it's just walking through life with them and trying to navigate that. And, you know, so it was what was best for your family. And this was a long process. Like you and Pastor Mike went through like a 6-month plus discussion and prayer and seeking God of what was best. Yeah. And it was a unanimous decision at the time that might be what's best. And then this opportunity arose at Grove City.
Right.
And so Grove City was like, I mean, you won't pat yourself on the back, but like you were knocking it out of the park there. Like you were doing great. Like there were promotions that were happening. Like they loved you. Like all this stuff, God was using you in tremendous ways. And then maybe it was I think you said last January, all of a sudden God started laying something on you and Becca's heart as you guys spent time in prayer together. And so talk about that.
Yeah.
Because by all accounts, like things were
going real
good. Yeah. Like, it was like this is nice. Like, thank you, God. Like this is going great. And I mean, not like you were raking in a ton of money, but like colleges pay differently than churches. We'll just say that.
Touche.
You know, like, I was say, but so things were going really well. But then what did God start doing in you and Becca's life?
Yeah. So at that point in time, you're right, Mal. I feel like Grove was going great, was doing something, and again, you and I talked about this too. Yeah. Like my heart for unity in diversity.
Yes.
And being able to do that through the Imago Dei Center at Grove was awesome.
Yeah.
I love those students to death, and the staff that I had an opportunity to work with. There was a point in time, which again, ministry was always a when, not an if. Yeah. We had been praying about, Lord, like, where do you plan to send us? Because we had been thinking about selling our home. Yeah. And so if we were to sell our home, like there are some decisions that come with that. Do we move closer to Grove City? Like, are we going to stay in Newcastle? Because wherever we're going to move next, like, okay, Lord, it seems like you would want us to plant roots wherever that's going to be. And so we have been praying about that. I had been feeling convicted, which, again, I feel like, so my boss, Joe Sorelli at Grove City, Joe, man, he's an elder himself at his church back in Youngstown. But Joe and I had conversations about ministry. And one of the things Joe was saying at the time was, brother, like I know you have this heart for pastoral ministry. He was like, you're doing that right now. Yeah. And so, but he was like, I want to pray with you about what that ought to look like, whether that's you staying here at Grove City or if the Lord is going to call you elsewhere. Yeah. But to be ready for that. And so, it felt like the Lord was calling us to do something in ministry. But I had no idea where that would be or what that would be, if that was something at Grove or whatever the case may have been. But the Lord started to lay that on our heart to want to do that. Just didn't know what the call would be.
And so as things progressed here at the church, and I knew that we were in the midst of announcing that Steve was going to become the next associate pastor, and that we were going to be, posting a position. We put it on a national search site. We beat the bushes around here and all this stuff. I ended up calling you because I talked to the transition team. I said, hey, there's someone I'd like to call just to see if he's got any interest. And they're like, yeah. And so I called because we hadn't caught up in a little bit.
Yeah, it had been a while.
So we were catching up, and it was a great conversation. And I remember in my mind, like, dude, don't even waste this time. Because like things were going great. Like you had overtaken the international students. Yeah. Like, like there was more than just the Imago Dei program. Yeah. Things were going really good. It was working out for your family really well. And I almost in the moment said no. And like I had to fight that inner voice because I remember always being reminded when I was working at Grace, hey, don't say no for someone.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. If they say no, that's okay. But what's really bad is if you don't make the ask because you don't think they would say yes, and then they miss out on an opportunity where God was actually trying to point them to.
Right.
You know, and so I'm like, hey, you know, and I was super apologetic. I'm like, look, no offense. Like this would affect us not at all if you're like, look, man, I'm not looking for ministry. Because in our conversation, you didn't talk about what you and Becca had been praying through.
Yeah.
And what you and your supervisor, Joe, had been praying through.
Yeah.
And there was a long enough pause after I said something that I interpreted that of him being like, how he's trying to let me down easy. He's trying to be like, hey, man,
how can I finesse this answer?
Yeah, like I am not looking for that at all. And then it was like a little bit of a shock when you're like, well, and then you opened up about what you and Becca had been praying through.
Yeah.
And what, you know, like, you're like, I'm just a little taken back because like, this is what our last couple of months has looked like in our life.
Right.
And I was like, oh man. And I know that like, there was just this sense of like, I am so sorry, God. Like I almost didn't even mention it. And word would have gotten out. God would have worked what God was going to work anyways.
No doubt.
But like, it just was, this moment of like, man, you need to like step up a little bit and not be so hesitant to obey what God's like prompting you to. Like, don't try to take a prompting. And again, you have to test the spirits, all those things. But like, don't take a prompting from God and try to like make sure it passes your test.
Right.
You know,
like I don't think based on the situation, this doesn't seem like this is right.
Personal conviction in that moment. And so, but yeah, then, you know, the whole process, the interview process, along with some others that we interviewed, some local, some not local, you know, all those different things. And yeah, like it was really cool to go through that process. And at the end of the day, that's, you know, you were who God had for us. And just so excited for that. Talk through that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it had to be a little weird because like even though God had laid that on you and Becca's heart, to then be like, oh, actually we're looking to get back into full-time ministry because the church did not hire Becca.
Right.
And we have to remember that.
Yeah.
But if you're a pastor's wife, there's elements that come along with it.
Yes, there's definitely.
And I know that like you and Becca have said, like there's elements, especially as a youth pastor, that wives have the opportunity to serve differently along with it. And, you know, it just, so like talk about that process of like, oh shoot, I think we might be doing this. Like, what if God says yes in this? Like, you know, like
absolutely.
Maybe this wasn't the timing, maybe that, you know, but just, talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, first I remember you calling and us having the call, but I remember you saying like, hey, how's Grove City? I'm like, it's good. Like things are well. And you like, were like, you know, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Let me just ask what I'm gonna ask. And I was absolutely stunned. And part of that is like, one of the cool things I think about the Fed is the Fed goes through pastors as often as the Steelers go through coaches, which is not
very often.
And so like it hadn't crossed my mind that could be a possibility. Because I absolutely loved just having an opportunity. Like, and I'm grateful to Steve for saying, hey, like we want you to come out to Winter Blast. Joseph and Christy saying, hey, like we want you to come to the ranch. And like I would finish and they'd be like, all right, so you coming back next year? I'm like, if y'all want me back,
if you want me back,
and our kids love the ranch, and they love being here. And so it just was like, it was mind blowing that was an opportunity on the table. It is interesting, and again, you know, I'm a city kid, and so thinking, okay, we might be planting roots in Springfield.
I know,
is a far cry from McKeesport or even Newcastle.
Even Newcastle, for sure.
Look, right now we're trying to get adjusted to not having neighbors next to us. We saw some deer out the window a couple of days ago. And so,
You were talking about the turkey buzzard that landed in like the tree branch.
Oh,
and
Eli
your kids
was
just be like,
losing it. He's like, you see that turkey vulture over there? Yeah. I'm like, buddy, this is par for the course, man.
Yep, like this is what happens here.
Right. And so, I think it was, and it took us some time to just pray through. Just like you said, man, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we've been praying about doing ministry.
Yeah.
We had no idea that it could be or would be the Fed. Like, we knew that relationship would continue just because we know this is a church family that continually has prayed for us. Yeah. But to actually be here, we didn't think that opportunity would come around. Yeah. And so, we had prayed about it. And really it was, Lord, if you want to open this door, like, allow the steps to come through as they should. And at every point he was opening a door or cracking a door further open. And we're like, I think this is it. Yeah. And it's worth us being able to step away from our home in Newcastle to come to East Springfield. Yeah. So.
And it is amazing. We don't have time to get into details, but it's amazing to see how God ordered the steps of so many different things. I mean, housing is so hard to find right now. Your house sold almost immediately. Like, there were still some hoops you got to jump through and all that stuff. Yeah. But like, that's a done deal now. And it is amazing to see how God went before you in so many areas, especially with the housing that we just didn't expect, didn't see. Yeah. You know, in West Springfield Baptist stepping up, they had a parsonage that wasn't being used, and they were just looking for some young family in ministry or a missionary family, like what, you know, and then they reached out, and that's been just a true blessing in so many ways. And it's neat to see again how God has been ordering the steps. Yeah. And how he's been putting stuff in place. And we're excited. We had our staff retreat yesterday. And when we do a staff retreat, usually it's just one day. It's like yesterday was a 9 to 3. And we all I tried to be respectful of everyone's time. And we had a hard stop at 3, even though the agenda was not gotten through. But we did get through a lot. Like it was a very productive day. And I was talking to Pastor Ed today, and he's like, man, it seems like Kendall's been with us for a while. Like, this is great. Like, you know, like, and it is also a blessing because there'll be bumps in the road and like everyone getting to know each other and all that stuff. But to sense how God has even gone before in that way, and in that regard, to just you fit right in with the staff, and not because you're a yes man that's going to do everything the same as everyone, but it's just the way God has already laid the groundwork for that. Yeah. You and Steve have been friends for quite a while. I got to meet you because you spoke at the first Winter Blast after I started here almost 5 years ago. Yeah. And so that's when we first, finally got to know each other, and our, friendship has grown since then. And it's just really neat to see God putting all those things and orchestrating all those things into place. And I shared this in the interview process, and I shared this with you before. But at that first weekend, 4.5 years ago at the ranch, I went home and told my wife, I'm like, man, I know it ain't going to happen, but I would love to do ministry with Kendall at some point. Like, I could just see that.
Same on my end, brother.
It was just, it's so crazy because we start looking at all the other stuff. You were still a First Baptist at that time. Like and we just, I didn't even know why that thought came into mind, but it's great to see God order those steps and put things into place. So we're excited and blessed to have you here. Looking forward to this year and many years to come in student ministry, and what that looks like. And I know we've had some laughs, like you and Rick have talked, because you guys have a lot of similarities, but him coming from Buffalo, you coming from McKeesport, coming to Springfield, like, oh, this ain't it.
What's going on?
And now we're celebrating 42 plus years as Rick's getting ready to, I guess, move into semi-retirement or whatever, like he's still going to be around. He's still going to be, doing stuff, and he's still going to be a vital part of the church, which is also a true blessing. Yeah. But you guys had some good laughs just about, everything being so different than what you were used to.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's good. So
I've got that means that Rick is still around to become a Steelers fan. Yeah. Really. Oh. Just so he knows, we're just going to put that on the table.
Yeah.
If you want to follow a team that actually has some Super Bowl wins and doesn't just go to the Super Bowl and lose.
Yes.
If you want to follow some real winners, come to the Black and Gold.
Man.
That's all I'll say.
That would be...
Staff meeting's going to be great.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that is hilarious, because I'm not saying he would ever not be a Bills fan, because he bleeds, the Buffalo Bills from childhood, but I think there might be other teams before the Steelers if it did happen.
Other teams in that pecking order.
Start planting those seeds.
Yep.
You know, someone else might water it, but you know, now his wife's a diehard Browns fan, so that'd be a hard conversion.
Man.
So
I'm just gonna slide a Troy Polamalu jersey in Rick's office.
Oh man, he would do something with it, but
not great. Not great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the conversation, and thank everyone for joining us. If you are part of our church, I encourage you, if you don't know Kendall and Becca, make sure you continue to take an opportunity to introduce yourself, get to know them. I won't throw the certain retiree under the bus, but that was still, it was so fitting last week when I walked by and I'm like, why is Kendall standing in his doorway? And then I see one of the retirees at your desk in your chair, just talking away. And I made mention about it, Yep. I commented, but those things are great because you get to know the church and you get to know the congregation and know the people. So definitely introduce yourself and get to know them and get to know the family, and it'll be a great thing. So,
and can I just say thank you all for. There have been so many people at the church already who have been so gracious and welcoming. So I just want to say thank you all for inviting us in and helping us to be a part of this church family. Yeah. So just really
that's
appreciate
great.
it.
And that's the desire, whether it's a new staff or someone who has come on a Sunday that's new. That is the desire for the congregation to have eyes for those people and to welcome them in. So, that's something I hope we never lose sight of as a church moving forward, and really have that focus. So, well, thanks again, and thank you everyone for joining us on the Federated Squared Circle, Wrestling with God's Word. We'll see you next episode.